People often underestimate the effect media can have on them. As women, we deal with plenty of negative and demeaning portrayals of ourselves in media. Women are often sexualized or put in the place of a subservient maid, mother, and wife. Men often use the media to remind us of what they believe a woman's place should be. However, that is not who we are. We are capable of so much deep, elaborate thought, emotion, and personality. It's important for us to seek out characters in media that empower us and remind us what we as women can be. It's important to analyze these characters and pick out what we want to embody, what we relate to, and what we feel. Media can also help us examine and face the darker parts of ourselves, characteristics we may relate to as women but don't particularly want to. Female representation in media has helped develop myself as well as so many other women into more emotionally intelligent, determined, intuitive, and intellectual people. Today, I'll be discussing some of the most influential female characters in media to our generation. Characters that I, and many women I've spoken to, have based parts of ourselves off. These characters can feel fundamental to who we are, as we feel such a deep connection to them. The first character I would like to discuss is Katniss Everdeen. Trademarks of Katniss's personality are resourcefulness, determination, and a streak of defiance. In the beginning of The Hunger Games, Katniss is a district girl with little concern outside of keeping her family alive. She is capable of anything a man is capable of and more. She acts as sole provider for her family. When her sister's name is called for the Hunger Games, she volunteers herself before she can even fully process what she's doing. In the games, her resourcefulness and determination shifts not only to her own survival, but Peeta's as well. She puts everyone else before herself, even Peeta, who she could not admit she was in love with. Something that makes Katniss so relatable to so many of us is her unwillingness to give herself credit for anything. Her attitude through the books especially is almost that of, I can't do this, I wasn't built for this. But the audience watches as time and time again she amazes us with what she's capable of. Her love for her family is what makes her realize the injustices faced by her and those she cares about, which in turn convinces her to become the face of the rebellion and fight against the Capitol. Katniss never loses herself or her caring spirit despite her cold exterior, even through all of the hardship she's put through. Speaking of the Hunger Games, I must also speak about Lucy Gray Baird from Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Lucy Gray's exterior fools you. She can appear almost ditzy at first glance. With her rainbow dress, beautiful voice, and sweet demeanor and accent, she certainly doesn't appear threatening. However, to think she's not capable of holding her own would be her biggest mistake. Lucy Gray is beyond determined, although she shows it in a less hardened way than Katniss. Like Katniss, her main goal is to take care of her family. She carries a fierce protective instinct, even towards a few of her fellow tributes in the arena. Lucy Gray is also extremely intuitive, her intelligence saving her life in the nick of time as she realizes she is the last loose end to Coriolanus Snow's crime. Although their plan was to run off together, her intuition told her to run off by herself, and she did so just as Coriolanus decided she was disposable. Lucy Gray also represents freedom. In the end, she disappears, and we never find out what really happened to her. It is a bit saddening to not know for sure if she survived, but also inspiring to think of her finally free from the oppression of the Capitol and the districts, free to be herself and go sing wherever she wants. It's important to address different sides of the spectrum when it comes to female characters and what they represent. Women can be so many things. Regina George represents a side to women that many do not want to admit are there, the mean girl side. In fact, when it comes to the film Mean Girls, I think the title often goes misinterpreted. They're all mean girls, not just Regina and her group of friends, Janice and Katie included. They wanted their revenge on Regina and to be popular like her, like we all did at that age. Regina is mean and ruthless, sure, but her personality is her way of defending herself and making sure she stays on top. A lot of it likely comes from fear of being outcasted. While many of us relate to those insecure aspects of her personality, she also serves as a reminder that we cannot let our insecurities take us over to the point where we project onto others. However, I don't believe Regina to be a completely negative role model. She walks with confidence, even if that's not always how she feels, and she would never let anyone walk all over her. She is fierce and determined. Nina from Black Swan is a character I do not believe should be idolized, but she is a solid representation of the pressure women feel to be quote-unquote perfect. In the film, we watch Nina slowly drive herself into madness, trying to be what her dance instructor wants and perfect for her role of the Swan Queen. In her interactions with Lily, played by Mila Kunis in the film, she finds herself under even more pressure to stop trying so hard to be perfect, to loosen up. She finds herself caught in the middle of trying to be innocent and pure like the White Swan, and dark and sexy like the Black Swan, both the characters she was cast for. We slowly watch her unravel and lose touch with reality as she tries to be both and perfect at it. She is a reminder that we cannot be everything, that sometimes the expectations set on women are simply impossible to achieve. She cannot be loose and carefree, as well as cookie-cutter perfect. It is a cautionary tale to watch her reach psychosis, trying to live up to these expectations. Understanding ourselves and our fellow woman is so important to feminism as we continue to spread our ideas and be viewed as equals. Some men still do not perceive women as equal, or even human, but we know differently. We embrace ourselves and each other as complex, intelligent, emotional, passionate creatures. We fall in love with characters who represent that, even if they aren't perfect, because none of us are. It's important to remember these characters and the lessons they represent, as they subconsciously guide us in more ways than we realize.